The pantry door clicked shut from the outside. My 8-year-old daughter, Lila, was inside, palms flat on the wood, whispering, "Grandma said this is the safest place until you calm down." Safest, in a locked pantry. My father-in-law's key scraped against his ring of keys, slow and deliberate, like he wanted the sound to sink into my bones. My mother-in-law, Janice, stood behind him with that gentle, church lady smile she used when she was about to do something cruel, for our own good. "Don't turn this into one of your episodes, Aaron," she said softly. "We're doing what's best for Lila." My husband Evan's phone lit up in his hand, one text he didn't mean for me to see as he angled the screen away. "File emergency custody tonight. She's not stable." I stared at the crack under the pantry door where Lila's pink sneaker was pressed against it, and my stomach dropped. This wasn't a misunderstanding. This was a takeover. "Open it," I said, keeping my voice low because Janice was watching me like a referee, waiting for me to say the wrong thing so she could call it proof. Frank tilted his head. "When you can speak respectfully." From inside the pantry, Lila's voice trembled. "Mom, I'm being good. I'm not crying." I swallowed hard. "Baby, you don't have to earn air." Janice clasped her hands. "She ran in there. She gets overwhelmed. A quiet space helps her regulate." "A quiet space you locked," I said. Frank's jaw flexed. "You're escalating." Janice didn't look at me. She looked at Evan, like I wasn't the real decision maker in my own life. "He's on his way, right? He'll help you settle. He's it." I heard the front door open, and Evan's tired voice called, "Mom? Dad?" He rounded the corner, saw my hand on the pantry knob, and froze. "Where's Lila?" Janice answered before I could. "She's safe." She needed structure. I met Evan's eyes. They locked her in the pantry. Evan's face tightened, not outrage, not shock. Calculation. "Mom, why would you?" Frank cut in. "We're trying to prevent damage. Erin can't handle herself." Lila whispered through the door, so small it hurt. Grandpa said, "Crying is how girls manipulate." Evan flinched like the words hit a tender place in him. Janice leaned in to touch his arm. Gentle poison. "You know how Erin gets when she's stressed. We have to protect Lila." I stared at him. "Do you hear what they're doing?" He exhaled like he was the one being pulled apart. "Erin, please don't make a scene. A scene. My child was trapped, and he was worried about how it looked." Janice's smile widened a fraction. "Thank you, honey. Cooperation matters." My throat burned. "What did you tell him, Janice?" She lifted her phone. On the screen was a text thread labeled Lila. "We gave her a way to reach us," Janice said. "For safety." My blood turned to ice. "Lila doesn't have a phone." Janice's voice stayed sweet. "She does now. She deserves a lifeline." From behind the door, Lila's breathing got faster. "Mom," Grandma said, "if I help her, I won't lose you." I didn't even hear myself inhale. "Frank, give me the key." Frank dangled it again. "When you calm down," Evan moved, finally reaching into Frank's pocket like he surprised himself. "Dad, give it." Frank hesitated, then dropped the key into Evan's palm. Evan unlocked the pantry. Lila stumbled out and crashed into me, clutching my shirt. She smelled like cinnamon and fear. "I was quiet," she whispered. "I was good. You didn't do anything wrong," I said into her hair, trying not to shake. Janice's voice sharpened for the first time. "You can't just take her and leave." Frank stepped toward the front door. "If you walk out, we call the police. We tell them you're having an episode and taking the child." Lila's hand crushed mine so tight my fingers went numb. Evan said, "Dad, don't." Frank didn't blink. "She needs boundaries." Janice leaned closer, voice honeyed. "Sit down, Erin. Agree to the plan and nobody has to get hurt." "What plan?" I asked. Janice's eyes glinted. "Temporary placement. Lila stays with us while you get help." My vision tunneled. You're trying to take my daughter. Janice's smile returned. I'm trying to save her. I looked down at Leela. If anyone grabs you, you scream. If anyone grabs me, you run to the car. Okay? Her lower lip shook, but she nodded. We walked slow, deliberate toward the entryway. Frank shifted his weight. I saw his phone propped on the console table, camera aimed at me. A tiny red dot blinked. Are you filming? I snapped. Evidence, Frank said. In case you get aggressive, Lila whispered. Grandma said you have to use your calm voice or the judge won't like you. The judge. Janice had planted that word in my child like a seed. I bent to Lila's ear. Sweetheart, you don't have to manage grown-ups. I'm getting you out. Then I reached for my purse on the chair, and my heel bumped something soft, a little rolling suitcase. Unicorn pattern, kid-sized, parked by the coat closet like it had been waiting. What is that? I asked. Janice didn't glance at it. A travel bag, so she can keep things at our place. Shampoo words for a custody plan. I scooped Lila up and stepped outside anyway. Janice's voice rose, loud enough for neighbors. Evan, stop her. I looked back, expecting Evan to run after us. He stood in the doorway, Janice's hand on his sleeve, Frank behind him like a wall. Evan met my eyes, and for one horrible second I saw a man split in half. Then he turned back inside. The door closed. I shoved Lila into the car, locked the doors, and my hands shook so hard I could barely start the engine. In the side mirror, Janice lifted her phone. She wasn't recording me anymore. She was calling someone, and the way she smiled told me she wasn't calling to apologize. As I pulled away, Lila whispered, Mom, are we in trouble? I kept my eyes on the road and lied the way mothers do to keep kids breathing. No, baby, we're just getting safe. But deep down, I already knew. They weren't asking permission, they were building a case. And they'd already started with my child. Part 2. Lila didn't speak until we were 3 streets away. Am I bad? She finally whispered, hugging her backpack like armor. No, I said. You were brave. She stared out the window. Grandma said brave girls don't yell. Grandma's wrong, I said. Your voice keeps you safe. At home, I did the quiet panic math all moms do. Birth certificate, school forms, the vaccination record from the junk drawer. I shoved everything into a tote bag while Lila sat at the kitchen table, drawing fast, hard lines like she was trying to stitch herself together with graphite. She kept glancing at the front window. Do you think Grandma will come here? We locked the doors, I said, then caught myself. We're safe here. Lila nodded like she wanted to believe me, then whispered, Grandpa said messy means people don't care. I looked at the cereal box on the counter, the mail pile, the art supplies spread like confetti. Normal life. Suddenly, it felt like evidence. Evan came home an hour later. Not rushing, not frantic. He walked in like a mediator. Can we talk? He asked. I nodded toward the hallway. Not in front of her. In our bedroom, he rubbed his forehead. My mom says you kidnapped Lila. I laughed once, sharp. From a pantry? Evan winced. They shouldn't have closed the door. Locked, I corrected. He shifted. They were scared, Aaron. They were confident, I said. Your father threatened to call the cops. Evan's gaze dropped. He didn't mean, he meant control. I cut in. What else did your mother tell you? Evan hesitated too long. She said Lila told her you disappear, that you lock yourself in the bathroom, that she makes meals alone. My stomach flipped. That's a lie, my mom said. Lila texted her, he said quietly. Lila doesn't have a phone, I said. Janice showed me a thread labeled Lila. She said she set it up. Did you know? Evan went still. No. I stepped closer. Then your parents are talking to our child behind our backs, and now they're painting me as unfit. We've Evan's phone buzzed. He glanced, then tried to hide it. "Show me," I said. He turned the screen toward me. "Janice, if Aaron won't cooperate, we file tomorrow. Pastor Reed and Dr. Holloway will write statements." My skin went cold. "File what?" Evan swallowed. "Emergency custody. Temporary guardianship. My mom says it's just precaution. Precaution is a fire extinguisher," I said. "This is a weapon." Evan's voice cracked. "I don't want to take Lila away from you. Then stop listening to people who do," I said. From the kitchen, Lila's pencil scratched like a countdown. Evan whispered, "I'll talk to them." "Talking won't undo a secret phone," I said. "We need records. We need a lawyer." His face tightened. "Aaron, you're spiraling." I stared at him. "That's her word, not mine." That night, while Evan showered, I opened his laptop. Fear makes you practical. I searched his email for plan. A document popped up. Safety plan draft. Week 1. Lila stays with grandparents. For stability. Week 2. Aaron's visits supervised to prevent emotional manipulation. Week 3. Evaluate longer-term placement. At the bottom, if Aaron resists, pursue emergency guardianship. Evan agrees in principle. My hands went numb. I snapped photos of the screen, then shut the laptop like it could bite. Lila stood in the doorway holding her sketchbook. She flipped it open to a new page. A stick figure grandma with a huge smile. A stick figure me with tears. Lila in the middle, split down the line. In shaky letters, "Be good or you'll lose Mom." My throat closed. "Where did you hear that?" Grandma told me, Leela whispered. "She said if I'm honest, the judge will pick the safest house." Before I could speak, my phone rang. Evan's sister. "Brooke, Aaron," she said. "No, hello. Why are you doing this to Mom?" Lila's scared. "Mom's trying to help." "Help by locking her up?" I said. "It was a reset," Brooke snapped. "And Mom said you skipped therapy today." I went still. "How would she know my schedule?" A pause. Then Brooke said too quickly, "Evan signed something. Mom can coordinate your care." I ended the call and turned to Evan, towel around his waist, eyes already defensive. "Did you give your mother access to my medical information?" I asked. His face drained. "No." "Then how does she know?" I demanded. Evan stared at the floor. "I signed something months ago. She said it was for insurance. I didn't read it." My hands went cold. "What did you sign?" "I don't know," he whispered. "I'm sorry." That's when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. A photo. Lila at Janice's kitchen table earlier that day, smiling like she'd been bribed. Caption: "She's happier here. Don't make us do this the hard way." The angle was too close, like whoever took it was standing right beside her. Then a second text hit. Immediate and gleeful. "We have more than you think." I stood there with that message glowing on my screen, and something in me went still. Just switched. "Where are your parents right now?" I asked Evan. He blinked. "At home." "Why?" "Because that picture was taken today," I said, voice flat. "Lila hasn't been there since the pantry. So either someone is messing with timestamps, or someone was inside our house earlier." "Is quiet." Evan frowned. "That doesn't make sense." "It makes perfect sense if your mother has access," I said. Evan's mouth opened, and he looked like a kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar. I gave them a spare key once," he admitted. "For emergencies." My skin crawled. "Did you take it back?" He didn't answer. I walked to the front door and checked the deadbolt. Then every window latch like I could lock out a woman who already lived in my life. Lila watched from the table, silent. "Mom," she whispered. "Grandma said you'd do that. She said you'd get paranoid and it would prove you're not safe." I froze mid-latch. "She said that?" Lila nodded, twisting her pencil. She told me if you ask too many questions, I should say, Mom's acting scary. My throat tightened so hard it hurt to swallow. Janice wasn't just gathering facts. She was scripting my daughter. Evan sank onto the bed, face in his hands. Oh my God, my phone buzzed again. Same unknown number. This time it was a screenshot of a calendar invite. Home visit tomorrow, 2 p.m. Under it, one line. We called Part 3. If you're still here, please hit like and subscribe, because the next part is where everything flips, and I promise you, my mother-in-law didn't stop at locks and threats. The home visit wasn't a calendar glitch. At 1:58 the next afternoon, a gray sedan stopped in front of our house like it owned the curb. Lila saw it first and went stiff at the window. Is that the judge? She whispered. No, I said, forcing my voice to stay even. It's just someone doing their job. 2 minutes later, a woman in a navy blazer walked up the path with a clipboard. Miss Rivera, Child Welfare. She introduced herself politely, eyes already scanning our porch. The chalk drawings, the shoes by the steps, the potted plant I kept forgetting to water. I received a report and need to complete a safety assessment, she said. Evan tried to speak. This is my mother did this. It's retaliation. Miss Rivera nodded like she'd heard that sentence 1,000 times. I understand that's what you believe. I still have to follow procedure. Inside, Lila sat on the couch, knees tucked up, trying to make herself small. Miss Rivera asked gentle questions. What's your favorite food? Who helps you with homework? Do you feel safe? Lila's eyes kept flicking to me, like she was afraid the wrong word would erase me. Then Miss Rivera asked, Has anyone ever told you to keep secrets from your mom? Lila didn't hesitate. Grandma did. Evan sucked in a breath. Lila reached behind the couch pillow and pulled out a small black phone wrapped in a sock. She told me to hide it, Lila said. She said it's for safety. My hands shook as I took it. Not because it was new, because it was proof. Miss Rivera read the messages, and her face changed slowly, professionally, but unmistakably. Janice. If Mommy cries, write, Mommy is scary, Janice. If Mommy sleeps, tell me how long, Janice. Don't tell Daddy. Daddy gets confused, Janice. Good job protecting our family. Miss Rivera looked up. Who purchased this phone? Lila's voice cracked. Grandma. Miss Rivera asked. Did Grandma ever tell you what to say? Lila nodded. She said if Mom asks questions, I should say Mom's acting scary. I pressed my lips together so I wouldn't cry in front of my child. Crying was exactly what Janice wanted captured on someone's notes. Miss Rivera finished the walk-through fridge stocked, bed made, no bruises, no hazards. She told me she might have to return. I'm sorry, she said quietly near the door, like she was human under the policy. This is concerning. After she left, Evan stared at the phone like it was a snake. She used our child, he whispered. As a witness. Evan called Janice on speaker. She answered cheerful. Hi, honey. Did Aaron behave for the lady? Evan's voice was steady. We found the phone. You're not allowed to contact Lila without us. Ever. A pause calculation, then Janice switched to wounded. I was protecting her. You know Aaron is unstable. Stop, Evan said. Janice's voice sharpened under the sweetness. We can still do this cleanly. If Aaron agrees to the plan, we don't have to involve anyone else. Evan went still. What plan? Janice sighed like a saint. Temporary guardianship. Structure. Supervised visits. For Lila. Lila made a small sound and pressed into my side. Evan's jaw tightened. You already talked to a lawyer. Janice didn't deny it. Grandparents have rights, Evan. There it is, he whispered and ended the call. 5 minutes later, our doorbell camera pinged. I checked the live feed and felt my stomach turn. Frank, standing on our porch, holding a manila envelope like a delivery. Behind him, Janice's car idled at the curb. Evan opened the door with the chain still on. "What do you want?" Frank lifted the envelope. "Just paperwork, nothing dramatic." "Don't make it dramatic." I leaned into the frame. "What paperwork?" Frank's tone stayed flat. "Petition, temporary guardianship request, for Lila's stability." Lila's nails dug into my arm. "Mom, am I going to live in the shed room?" Evan's face snapped toward me. "Shed room?" Lila whispered. "Grandma showed me pictures. She said it's my new room. She said she already packed my unicorn suitcase." My chest went cold. The suitcase. The just in case. They'd staged a whole life without me. Evan's voice shook. "Dad, did you set up a room for my child?" Frank's eyes didn't soften. "We prepared. Responsible adults prepare." I shut the door in his face and locked it, hands trembling. Then Evan opened his banking app. And when I saw the repeating transfers labeled Mom Support, my breath caught. It wasn't a few groceries here and there. It was thousands. Month after month. For years. And right beneath the latest transfer was a fresh charge that made my skin crawl. "Weller Family Services Consultation." Evan blinked. "That's not a doctor." I typed the name into my phone and felt the blood drain from my face. "Private investigator." Janice didn't just report me. She paid someone to watch me. With Evan's money, with our money. And when I scrolled 1 inch further on Evan's statement, I saw a note attached to the charge. Employer contact included. My phone rang as if the universe wanted to underline it. "Unknown number," I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. "Hello?" A man cleared his throat. "Aaron? This is Mark Ellison from Harbor Point. My old supervisor." The job I'd lost after a panic attack in the break room turned into gossip, and then into not a good fit. My mouth went dry. "Why are you calling me?" He hesitated. "Someone contacted our office today asking for confirmation of your incident. They said it was for a custody matter." I closed my eyes. Janice hadn't found the story on her own. "She'd commissioned it," Mark added, quieter. "I didn't give details, but just so you know," they sounded prepared, like they already had paperwork. When I hung up, Evan was staring at me. "She called your old job," he whispered. I nodded, and for the first time Evan looked truly scared, not of his mother's anger, but of her reach. Because if Janice could pull my past into court with one phone call, what else had she already touched? Part 4. That night, Lila lined up her crayons in perfect color order before bed. She'd never done that. She used to dump them in a cup, grab whatever felt right, and laugh when the colors argued. Now she lined them up like a soldier inspection. "Are you okay?" I asked softly. She didn't look up. "If I'm neat, Grandma won't worry." My chest tightened. "Grandma's worry is not your job," Lila whispered. "Grandma said messy girls get taken." I sat on the floor beside her and picked up a crayon, the purple one she always loved. "Messy girls make art," I said, "and nobody gets to take you because you're creative." She nodded, but her eyes didn't believe me yet. Evan stayed up after Lila fell asleep, scrolling through bank statements, old emails, anything he could use to untangle what his mother had wrapped around us. His hands shook when he found the first transfer from years ago. He'd labeled it temporary. Then he'd never stopped. "She told me Dad's blood pressure meds were expensive," he murmured. "She said if I didn't help, he could die." I stared at him. "And if you helped, you stayed a good son." Evan flinched. "Yeah, we met with Kendra Shaw, the family lawyer, first thing in the morning. She didn't react with surprise to the pantry, the burner phone, the PI. She reacted like she'd seen this movie, just with different names. They're building a narrative," she said. "Unstable mother, stable grandparents, cooperative father. It's not about love. It's about control. Evan swallowed. They can really take her? They can try, Kendra said. But they got sloppy. Coaching a child, tracking, surveillance. That's not concern. That's manipulation. Kendra told us to document everything and, most importantly, to stop treating Janice like she was negotiating in good faith. People like this don't compromise, she said. They conquer. On the way home, Evan finally admitted something that made my stomach drop. My mom did this before, he said, eyes on the road. Not with you. With my Aunt Claire. I turned toward him. What? He swallowed. When I was 10, Claire tried to move away after her divorce. Mom said my cousin needed stability. She filed for visitation, then guardianship. Claire fought, but she didn't have money. She didn't have help. She lost for a while. A chill crawled up my arms. And your family called it help, Evan nodded, jaw tight. Dad backed her. Everyone backed her. Mom said Claire was emotional, I heard Lila's whisper in my head. Dad listens to Grandma. Evan parked and stared at the steering wheel. I thought if I stayed calm, if I paid, if I didn't fight, she'd leave us alone. And she used that, I said. That afternoon, my phone pinged with a notification from our doorbell camera. Janice stood on our porch holding a grocery bag like a peace offering. Behind her, Frank's truck was parked half in our driveway like a claim. I didn't open the door. I spoke through the camera. Leave, I said. Janice looked straight into the lens, voice syrupy. Aaron, sweetheart, I brought Lila's favorite yogurt. I'm worried she's not eating. She's fine, I said. You're not coming in. Janice's smile held, but her eyes went cold. You can't keep her from family. That's emotional abuse. I almost laughed at the audacity. You locked her in a pantry. Janice's voice dropped, low enough it felt intimate even through a speaker. I know you're scared, but fighting makes things worse. Judges don't like hysteria. My stomach twisted. Stop talking about judges to me. Janice glanced off to the side. Frank stepped into frame, holding his phone up, recording. Again, Evan appeared behind me and grabbed my hand. Mom! Leave! He called loudly through the door. Janice's expression softened in performance. Honey, I just want to see my granddaughter. Evan's voice turned hard. You used her. You coached her. You called CPS. You hired a PI. Janice blinked once. I did what I had to do. Aaron is unpredictable. Evan held up a folder of printouts. Kendra told us to keep screenshots of Janice's messages to Lila, the PI receipt, the AirTag photo we'd found hidden in Lila's backpack that morning. Yes, there it was. The AirTag, buried in the side pocket like a little white eye. Janice's smile faltered for half a second. Evan's voice shook with rage. You tracked my daughter. Janice recovered fast. For safety, for control, Evan said. Janice's eyes flicked to me. If you keep pushing, I'll tell the court why Erin really lost her job. My stomach dropped. Evan went still. I turned to him, voice thin. You told her. Evan's face crumpled. I thought it would make her kinder, he whispered. I thought if she understood, she'd stop. Janice smiled again, and it wasn't sweet anymore. You see? She said into the camera. Even Evan knows. Kendra had warned me. They conquer. Janice lifted the grocery bag. Last chance, Aaron. Agree to supervised visits and a temporary placement, or we go public. I felt my hands start to shake, not from panic, but from the effort of holding my life together while someone tried to peel it apart. Evan stepped forward and spoke into the door with a steadiness I'd never heard from him. No, he said. We'll see you in court. Janice's eyes flashed. Then don't be surprised when you lose. She walked away with Frank, and my phone buzzed immediately after, like she couldn't resist one more twist. A message from an unknown number. A photo of Lila's unicorn suitcase. Open, with her clothes inside. Caption. We packed for her. You're too late. My knees went weak because the suitcase was not at their house. It was at ours, which meant someone had been inside. I ran to the closet where we kept the extra keys, my hands moving faster than my brain. The hook was empty. I looked at Evan. Did you ever get that spare back? His face went white. No. We tore through the living room, then Lila's room. I checked her bookshelf, her toy bin, under the bed places no adult should have to search for proof of invasion. Behind her nightstand, I found it. A tiny camera the size of a button, stuck to the wall with double-sided tape, aimed straight at her bed. My stomach flipped so hard I tasted bile. Janice hadn't just been inside. She'd been watching. Part 5. Court doesn't feel like justice. It feels like someone weighing your motherhood on a scale you never agreed to. Janice arrived in a cream suit with a cross necklace and damp eyes, clutching a binder like it was scripture. Frank stood beside her, silent muscle. They looked like the kind of people strangers believe. Kendra squeezed my shoulder. "Let them perform," she murmured. "Then we show facts." The judge was a middle-aged woman with sharp glasses and an expression that said she'd seen every flavor of family war. Janice's attorney spoke first, calling me volatile and unpredictable, describing our home as chaotic, hinting that therapy meant danger. He used phrases like emotional instability, the way people use air freshener, spraying it everywhere until it felt true. Then Kendra stood and began with one sentence that sliced through the performance. "Your Honor, these petitioners locked the child in a pantry and called it structure." Janice's face tightened. Kendra submitted the doorbell footage, time-stamped that night. Then she submitted the burner phone logs. The courtroom went quiet when the judge read Janice's messages to my daughter. "Janice, if Mommy cries, write Mommy is scary. Janice. If Mommy sleeps, tell me how long. Janice. Don't tell Daddy. Daddy gets confused." The judge looked at Janice. "Did you instruct your granddaughter to gather evidence against her mother?" Janice lifted her chin. "I was protecting her. That wasn't my question," the judge said flatly. Kendra handed over the AirTag photo and the device itself in a sealed bag. "They tracked the child's location without parental consent," she said. Janice's attorney tried to object. The judge held up a hand. "Objection noted. Continue." Kendra submitted the private investigator receipt. The employer contact included note, and the bank statements showing years of transfers. Janice's attorney tried to pivot. "The mother's workplace incident," Kendra didn't flinch, "which the petitioners had a private investigator dig into and attempt to weaponize. Your Honor, this is not concern. This is a campaign." The judge leaned forward. "Mrs. Harrow, why did you hire surveillance on the child's mother?" Janice's voice trembled. "I had concerns," Kendra added. "We also found a hidden camera aimed at Lila's bed. The petitioners had a key." Frank finally spoke, loud and offended. "That's a lie," Kendra turned. "Then explain the missing spare key." Frank's mouth opened, then shut. Kendra asked to call Evan. Evan stood, shoulders squared. And for the first time, I didn't see a son begging for approval. I saw a father drawing a line. "Mr. Delaney," Kendra said, "did your parents ever discuss coaching Lila?" Evan's voice was steady. "Yes, my mother told me." "Kids tell the truth when you give them the right words," Janice hissed. "Evan," the judge snapped. "Mrs. Harrow, do not interrupt," Kendra continued. "Did your parents threaten to call the police if you left with your child?" "Yes," Evan said. "My father did." Janice's attorney rushed in with a practiced sigh. The judge didn't look impressed. Kendra asked, "And the pantry?" The judge looked straight at Janice. "Did you lock the child in a pantry?" Janice hesitated half a beat too long. "Yes," she said finally, like it pained her to admit a technicality. "For safety," the judge's voice stayed cold. "A locked pantry is not a therapeutic tool." Kendra asked for a protective order. Janice's attorney tried to argue for grandparent rights. The judge didn't even blink. I'm denying the petition for emergency guardianship, she said. And I'm granting the parents' request for no contact pending further review. Janice's face went white. Evan didn't react. He simply put his hand on my back, steadying me as if he knew my knees might give out from relief alone. Outside the courtroom, Janice finally dropped the soft voice. Evan, she hissed. After everything, you choose her? Evan's voice didn't shake. I choose my daughter. Janice swung her glare to me. She'll know who really cared. I met her eyes. Caring doesn't need locks, trackers, or cameras. Frank stepped forward, but Kendra moved between us like a gate. Any contact with the child is a violation, she said evenly. Janice spun away, furious and humiliated, and I could breathe without bracing for the next blow. Back home, Lila hovered in the hallway like she didn't trust good news. Did the judge take me? She blurted, words tumbling out. No, I said, pulling her into my arms. You're staying. You're ours. You're safe. She sobbed, the kind of sob that empties weeks of fear. Evan held us both, and for once his arms didn't feel divided. Slowly, Lila stopped lining up her crayons like a punishment. She started dumping them again, laughing when the colors argued, like she'd reclaimed her right to be a kid. And here's where I want you. Right now, because family stories like this always split people into teams. If you've ever been in the middle of a concern that was really control, share this story and tell me in the comments. Would you cut someone off completely if they weaponized a child, even if they swore they were doing it for the family? 6 months later, Janice hasn't apologized. She hasn't asked what Lila likes now. She hasn't tried to learn. She's just sent one message through Brooke. Tell Evan we forgive him when he comes to his senses. Evan didn't reply. Sometimes I catch myself waiting for the other shoe to drop. Trauma does that. But then Lila runs into the kitchen with a new drawing, hands smudged with color, eyes bright, and the waiting loosens its grip. Her latest picture is taped to our fridge. 3 stick figures holding hands, messy lines everywhere. A big sun in the corner. No pantry, no shed, no split down the middle, just us. And every time I see it, I remember the real lesson Janice tried to teach my daughter. Be small, be neat, be quiet. And the lesson we taught her back, your voice keeps you safe.